Have you ever considered that the freest man in an empire could be a slave? It's a paradox, isn't it? That a man in chains could possess a mind more liberated than the emperor who ruled over him. This isn't a riddle, it's the story of Epictetus. He was born a slave in the Roman Empire, his body owned by another, his leg deliberately broken by a cruel master, leaving him crippled for life. By every external measure, his existence was one of absolute powerlessness. He was property. He was broken. Yet, this man, born into bondage around 50 AD, would become one of the most powerful teachers of mental freedom the world has ever known. His body was chained, but his mind was an unconquerable fortress. He taught not from a place of privilege, but from the depths of human suffering, and in doing so, he forged a blueprint for an unbreakable mind. This isn't just ancient history. This is an operating system for navigating the chaos of your life right now. I remember a time, decades ago, when I had achieved everything the world told me equated to freedom. I had the successful tech company, the portfolio, the recognition. I could buy any car, take any vacation. I was, by all accounts, the master of my own destiny. Yet, I was a slave. I was shackled to the daily stock market ticker, a prisoner to the opinions of shareholders, and held hostage by my own anxieties about the next product launch or the next competitor's move. The slightest market downturn would send a jolt of panic through my system. A negative comment from a client could ruin my day. My external world was a gilded cage, but a cage nonetheless, and my own reactive emotions were the bars. I was successful, but I was not free. It was only when I encountered the teachings of Epictetus that I began to understand the nature of my prison. It wasn't the market, or my competitors, or the economy. My prison was my own untrained mind, a mind that had given away its power to things it could never, ever control. Epictetus, while still a slave, was allowed to study under the great Stoic teacher Musonius Rufus. Imagine that scene. A crippled slave, standing in a room of Roman aristocrats, absorbing the principles of logic, virtue, and reason. He wasn't learning to escape his physical chains. He was learning to dissolve his mental ones. After he was eventually freed, he began to teach. He was later exiled by the paranoid Emperor Domitian, who banished all philosophers from Rome. But you cannot exile an idea. You cannot banish a disciplined mind. Epictetus simply moved his school to Nicopolis in Greece and continued his work, influencing future leaders, including the Emperor Marcus Aurelius. His body was moved, his location was changed, but his center, his core remained undisturbed. The fundamental question he forces us to ask ourselves is this: are you allowing your peace of mind to be determined by things you cannot command? Are you a slave to your promotion, to your social media likes, to the moods of your spouse, to the political climate? Epictetus built an invincible mind on one single, profound distinction, a principle so powerful it can fundamentally re-architect your reality. If you have the courage to apply it, it is the very first step to building your own inner citadel. The foundational principle of Epictetus' entire philosophy, the master key that unlocks the cage, is what he called prohairesis. It's often translated as volition or choice, but it's more profound than that. Think of it as your sphere of choice, your moral purpose, the command center of your soul. It is the only thing in the entire universe that is truly, unequivocally yours. Everything else is external. Everything else is borrowed. Grasping this distinction isn't an intellectual exercise, it's the beginning of your liberation. To build an iron mind, you must first know the territory you command. You must draw a clear, bright line in the sand of your reality. On one side lies everything you control. On the other, everything you do not. The modern world is designed to blur this line, to make you believe you should have an emotional opinion and a stake in everything, from global events to the lives of celebrities. This is a trap. It is a deliberate diffusion of your most precious resource, your attention and your energy. Let's draw that line right now. Within your sphere of choice, within your absolute control, are only a few things: your judgments about events, your voluntary choices, your expressed attitudes, the values you decide to live by, and the responses you choose to what happens. That's it. That is your kingdom. Outside of this sphere is everything else. The actions of other people, their opinions of you, the economy, the weather, your health, your possessions, your reputation, and the ultimate outcome of your efforts. Yes, even your body and your wealth are ultimately not in your complete control. You can influence them, yes, but you cannot command them. A sudden illness, a market crash, an accident, these things can take them away in an instant, regardless of your efforts. The anxious, fragile mind lives its life in the external realm, constantly battling for control over things it can never own. The strong, tranquil mind fortifies its own kingdom, its internal realm. I mentored a young entrepreneur a few years back, a brilliant founder named Alex. He was perpetually on the verge of a breakdown. He would call me at all hours, consumed with anxiety. What if our competitor releases their new feature first? What if the venture capital funding dries up? What if the press writes a negative story? His focus was entirely on the vast ocean of things he could not control. He was trying to command the waves, and he was drowning. I didn't give him a business strategy. I gave him Epictetus. I had him take out a piece of paper and draw a large circle. Inside the circle, he wrote my choices. Outside, he listed all his fears. Then I gave him a simple instruction. For the next week, you are forbidden from wasting 1 ounce of energy on anything outside that circle. Every scrap of your focus must go to the things inside it, the quality of your product, the integrity of your code, the way you treat your team, your own work ethic. The change was not immediate, but it was profound. By starving the anxieties and feeding his actions, he regained his footing. His company didn't magically become immune to market forces, but he became immune to being controlled by them. He stopped being a reactor and became an actor. He learned that true power isn't the ability to control the world, but the discipline to control your response to the world. So I ask you, where is your focus right now? Are you spending your days trying to manage the unmanageable, worrying about the opinions and actions of others? Or are you diligently cultivating your own garden, focusing on the quality of your own choices and judgments? Type continue to receive the next section. Once you have drawn the line between what you control and what you don't, you need a tactical blueprint for dealing with the inevitable anxieties that arise when the outside world presses in. The untrained mind reacts to anxiety with more anxiety. It spins, it catastrophizes, it gets lost in a fog of what-ifs. The Stoic mind treats anxiety not as an emotional state to be endured, but as a signal to be analyzed. This is where we forge what I call the Stoic Anxiety Decision Tree. It's a simple, logical, and devastatingly effective mental algorithm for dismantling anxiety before it can take root. It's the process of taking a feeling and subjecting it to the cold, hard light of reason. This is not about suppressing emotion, it is about interrogating it. It is the difference between being the storm and being the calm, unshakable eye of the storm. The process begins the moment you feel that familiar tightening in your chest, that sense of unease. Step 1. Identify the trigger. Give it a name. Don't just say I'm stressed. Be specific. I am anxious about the upcoming presentation to the board. I am worried about what my friend thought of my comment. I am fearful of the medical test results. By naming it, you take it from a vague, overwhelming feeling and turn it into a concrete problem to be solved. Step 2, and this is the crucial pivot, is to ask the primary question of Stoic practice. Is this thing, this trigger, within my sphere of choice? Is it something that falls inside my kingdom of control or outside of it? Your answer to this question determines your entire strategy. If the answer is why yes, if the source of your anxiety is, for instance, your lack of preparation for that board presentation, then the path is clear. Anxiety is a signal that you have work to do within your own domain. The energy you are feeling is not meant to be wasted on worry. It is fuel for virtuous action. Channel that energy into a rational, productive response. Practice the presentation. Refine your slides. Anticipate questions. Your anxiety is simply a call to action to better manage what is yours to manage. But what if the answer is nitrogen monoxide? What if the trigger is the board's final decision, what your friend thinks, or the test results themselves? This is where the real training begins. If it is outside your control, the Stoic response is twofold: accept and release. Acceptance is not passivity. It is the profound wisdom of not fighting a battle you can never win. You must consciously acknowledge, this outcome is not mine to command. Then you must release your emotional investment in it. You redirect your focus away from the uncontrollable outcome and back to the controllable response. You can't control the board's decision, but you can control the grace and professionalism with which you accept it. You can't control your friend's judgment, but you can control your own apology or clarification. You can't control the diagnosis, but you can control the courage and resolve with which you face whatever comes next. Years ago, a multi-million-dollar merger I had worked on for nearly a year collapsed at the last minute because of a regulatory change completely outside of my company's control. In an instant, a year of my life's work vanished. The old me would have erupted in rage, in blame, in a downward spiral of despair. Instead, I quietly went into my office, took a breath, and ran the algorithm. Trigger, the deal is dead. Is this within my control? No. The decision was made by a government body. It is an external event. So what is in my control? My response, how I communicate this to my team, the strategy we develop to pivot, how I carry myself with dignity and resolve. In that moment of choosing my response over my reaction, I felt no weakness. I felt an incredible sense of power. The world had thrown its punch, and I was still standing. That is the essence of an iron mind. It is not about avoiding punches, it is about choosing your stance. Ask yourself, what is the primary anxiety in your life right now? And have you had the courage to ask if it truly belongs to you to control? Type continue to receive the next section. Theory is a map, practice is the journey. Knowing the sphere of choice and the anxiety decision tree is useless if they remain as abstract concepts in your mind. The forge where an iron mind is truly built is in the hot, messy, and unpredictable reality of your daily life. It is in the small moments of irritation and the large moments of fear that you get to practice this philosophy and transform it from knowledge into wisdom. Let's move from the theoretical to the intensely practical. We'll take a common, real-world scenario and walk it through the Stoic operating system, step by step, so you can see precisely how to apply this to your own life. Let's use the example of intense anxiety before a critical job interview. This is a situation ripe with uncertainty and a desire for control. The stakes feel high, and your mind can easily spiral into a cascade of negative possibilities. The untrained mind fixates on all the wrong things. What if they don't like me? What if I'm not the best candidate? What if I say something stupid? I need this job. This thinking is a recipe for a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure because your energy is completely misdirected. Let's apply the Stoic framework. Step 1. Identify the trigger. The trigger is the fear of rejection and the fear of an unfavorable outcome. It's the anxiety stemming from the uncertainty of whether you will be chosen. Step 2. Analyze through the sphere of choice. We draw our line in the sand. What is outside of your control? The interviewer's mood and biases, the questions they will ask, the other candidates and their qualifications, the company's ultimate hiring decision. Spending even 1 second of emotional energy worrying about these things is, to use Seneca's phrase, to suffer in imagination before it is necessary. It is a complete waste of your power. Now, what is within your control? Your preparation, the research you do on the company, the crafting of your answers to potential questions, the clothes you choose to wear, the questions you prepare to ask them, your attitude and your body language during the interview, the effort you put into your follow-up note. This is your entire battlefield. Everything else is noise. Step 3. Reframe and redirect. The Stoic reframe is simple but powerful. My task is not to get the job. That is an outcome I don't control. My task is to be the most prepared, professional, and authentic candidate I can possibly be. That is an effort I do control. Do you see the shift? It moves the goalpost from an external validation to an internal standard of excellence. The anxiety, which was once a paralyzing fear of the unknown, now becomes a source of energy. It's a signal to prepare more diligently. Your focus shifts from worrying about what they will think of you to focusing on presenting your best self. You channel the nervous energy not into hand-wringing, but into rehearsing your key talking points. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Applied here, it means the outcome of the interview, whether you get the offer or not, is not the event that defines you. The event that defines you is how you chose to prepare, how you chose to conduct yourself, and how you choose to respond to either outcome with grace and resilience. Winning isn't getting the job. Winning is executing your part perfectly, with virtue and effort, and then calmly accepting whatever result follows. This is the practice. You do this with job interviews, with difficult conversations, with financial worries, with health scares. You relentlessly and ruthlessly apply this logic until it becomes your default setting. What is the one scenario in your life this week where you can consciously practice this? Where can you deliberately let go of the outcome and pour all your energy into the quality of your effort? We have journeyed from the chains of a Roman slave to the inner workings of your own mind. We have seen that freedom is not a condition of your circumstances, but a function of your choices. We have drawn the line between what is yours to command and what is not, and we have built a logical framework for dismantling the anxieties that arise from confusing the two. But this journey means nothing if it ends here. A blueprint is worthless until you lay the first stone. The most profound wisdom, unapplied, is just a collection of empty words. The final step is not one of understanding, but of commitment. It is the decision to move from a passive consumer of ideas to an active practitioner of a discipline. The challenge I am giving you is not complex, but it is not easy. It requires a level of self-awareness and honesty that most people avoid. I challenge you, today, to pick just one anxiety trigger in your life. It could be something small, like the irritation you feel when you're stuck in traffic. It could be something larger, like a worry about your finances or a relationship. I want you to take that single trigger and formally walk it through the process we have discussed. Take out a piece of paper or open a note on your phone. Write down the trigger. Then, draw your circle of choice. List what is outside your control regarding this issue and what is inside your control. And then, make a conscious, deliberate commitment to redirect every ounce of your focus for the rest of this day away from the former and onto the latter. If you are anxious about a comment a co-worker made, release the need to control their opinion and focus instead on the choice to conduct yourself with unimpeachable integrity. If you are worried about the stock market, release the obsession with daily fluctuations and focus on the controllable action of reviewing your long-term financial plan. This isn't a what-I'm fix. This is a single repetition in a lifelong workout. An iron mind, like an iron physique, is not given, it is forged. It is built day by day, choice by choice, in the fires of real-world application. Each time you successfully redirect your focus from what you can't control to what you can, you are strengthening that mental muscle. Each time you choose a rational response over an emotional reaction, you are laying another stone in the foundation of your inner citadel. The promise of this path is not a life free from problems. That is a fantasy. The promise is a mind that is free in the midst of problems. It is the promise of becoming a fortress of tranquility and reason that no external event can breach. It is the shift from being a fragile leaf blown about by the winds of chance to being a deeply rooted tree that can withstand any storm. This is the foundation of true mental strength. It is the freedom that Epictetus, the slave, understood better than the emperors who ruled him. It is the freedom that is available to you right now, should you have the courage to claim it. The choice, as always, is yours. What is the one anxiety trigger you will choose to work on today? Comment below and make your commitment by writing it down. You take the first step from intention to action.